flew in like a Force 5 cyclone. He came here as a nobody and fought his way up to the top because he's so ambitious and because he's so determined.
This is the story of Jody Scheckter, one of F1's most underappreciated world champions. Jody Scheckter was born in East London. No, not that one, but the one in Eastern Cape, a province in South Africa. As he grew older, he rapidly ascended to the ranks of Formula One after moving to the UK in 1970.
The challenges you're going to face, you've been in South Africa all your life, you haven't been outside of the country, you had a great life out there, swimming pool, everything, and you go to England and you're now sharing a flat with 6 people. You're going to obviously have hard times in your personal life going through that, but that shouldn't make any difference to you. Just think about working harder, driving faster, and doing whatever you can to win races. And then you have no regrets after that.
But his first taste of an F1 car came in 1972, when he made his debut at the US Grand Prix with McLaren. Even though it was his first ever race in an F1 car, he managed to work his way all the way up to the top of the grid, but after spinning out, had to settle for P9. However, he immediately became a name to watch, even going on to win America's professional open-wheel racing series the following year. He was also given 5 more chances to race in F1, and in that time, Scheckter experienced a roller coaster of emotions.
You came over from South Africa and sort of virtually cleaned up in Formula 4.
Well, I crashed more than I cleaned up. I think the first race I did quite well, and then we used to go to the new circuits every 2 weeks or every week, and half an hour to learn the circuit and qualify, and it was just too short. We used to normally crash. I was near the front anyway. I didn't enjoy Formula 4 actually.
At just his 3rd race, Scheckter collided with Emerson Fittipaldi, the reigning world champion, who said after the crash about Scheckter, "This madman is a menace to himself and everybody else, and does not belong in Formula One." In the following race, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Scheckter's spin triggered a major accident, which took nearly a dozen cars out of the race. The Grand Prix Drivers Association demanded his immediate banishment, which was only put off when McLaren agreed to rest their driver for 4 races. By this time, many began questioning Scheckter's driving, with people calling him reckless at the wheel. But things drastically changed for the South African after his 5th race in Formula One. During the practice for an American event at the Watkin Glen circuit, Frenchman Francois Seva, who was due to be Scheckter's Tyrrell teammate for 1974, was killed in an appalling accident at the fast uphill SS corners. Scheckter saw the horrific incident unfold, stopped his McLaren, and tried to help his fellow teammate out of the destroyed Tyrrell. But the 29-year-old Frenchman had been cut in half by the circuit's poorly installed Armco barriers and unfortunately passed away. Witnessing the dreadful accident left an indelible mark on Scheckter and caused him to abandon his reckless ways, becoming a more mature and calculating driver. Tyrrell in 1974 gave him his first full-time drive in F1, and Jody rewarded them with a 3rd-place finish in the Drivers' Championship, and a pair of wins in Sweden and the UK. During the year, he also scored points in 8 consecutive races, one of the longest streaks of the time. A slight off-year followed, although he did become the only South African to win his home Grand Prix at Kyalami. But by his 3rd year with Tyrrell, Scheckter was back in top form, finishing 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship of 1976. In that season, Tyrrell introduced arguably the most radical car in F1 history, the innovative 6-wheeled Tyrrell P34. Although he later went on to say that the car was a piece of junk, Scheckter gave the 6-wheeler its only win at Sweden's Anderstorp circuit, and scored points in more than 80% of his races. This included a thrilling, race-long battle for the lead in the American Grand Prix between himself and his great friend James Hunt. But this of course closed his chapter with Tyrrell, moving to Walter Wolf's new team in 1977. Scheckter gave the team a win in its maiden race, and often found himself on the podium. After a 7th place finish with the team in 1978, Scheckter moved on to Ferrari to partner Gilles Villeneuve in the team's ground effect Ferrari. Critics felt he would not get along with the domineering management at the team, but he far surpassed their expectations and helped give F1's most iconic team another Constructors' Championship, while Schecter's consistent finishes with 3 wins among them gave him the Drivers' Championship in 1979, becoming the first and only to date South African world champion. However, he struggled to defend the title the following year, even failing to qualify for one race. After managing only 2 points, Scheckter announced his retirement from the team and the sport, making him the last driver to win a Drivers' Championship for Ferrari until Michael Schumacher 21 years later. The story of Jody Scheckter is definitely worth a revisit, which is why I made this video in the first place.
I think he was, one of the legends. I mean, he wasn't around too long.
I think Jody would succeed in any environment because he's so much his own man.
He isn't one of the most popular and talked about F1 drivers, but has definitely left his mark on the sport, becoming the only African world champion in the history of Formula 1. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, consider subscribing, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time on Race Day Recap.